Sometimes the hardest people to explain narcissistic abuse to are the ones who share your last name. You finally work up the courage to speak your truth. You take the risk. You open your heart and let them in on what's really been going on. And you think, maybe they'll understand. Maybe they'll say, I had no idea. I'm so sorry you went through that. Or maybe they'll hug you and really mean it. But instead, what you get is something else entirely. Blank stares, dismissive shrugs, or worse, they point the finger at you. Are you sure that's what happened? I don't want to take sides. Or that classic, they never seem that bad to me. Welcome back to the Are You Annie podcast. Today's episode circles back to something we've talked about before. What it's like when you try to explain narcissistic abuse to your family. But this time, I want to approach it from a deeper angle, not just the facts of what happens, but what that silence or that dismissal really means, why it hurts so much, and how to stop chasing understanding people who are committed to not seeing you because your peace is too precious to hand over to someone else's denial. Let's talk about the pain of not being believed. There's a particular kind of heartbreak that comes when your truth is met with resistance from the very people you thought would be safe. It's one thing to be manipulated or mistreated by the narcissist. That's absolutely awful. But when you finally get out, finally start putting language to what you went through, and your own family says, that doesn't sound like the person that I know, it can feel like the floor dropped out from under you. Because now the question becomes, even if my family doesn't believe me, did it really happen? That kind of doubt, that kind of self-questioning, it's exactly what the narcissist wants. The abuse is designed to create that very scenario. And when the people around you reinforce the doubt that you're having in yourself, whether they mean to or not, it feels like a second wave of betrayal coming through. You don't just grieve the relationship that you've escaped or trying to escape. You start to grieve the family you thought that you had, that had your back. Well, let's talk about what their silence or dismissal might actually be saying. Sometimes people don't know what to say, and that part is absolutely true. But often it's deeper than that. It's not about ignorance or not knowing what to do. It's about avoidance. It's about not wanting to disrupt the story that they've been telling themselves about your family or about the person who hurt you. Because if they acknowledge the abuse, they might have to ask themselves some hard questions like, why didn't I see it? Was I complicit? Could that happen to me? And so they choose denial, maybe neutrality. They say they don't want to get involved, but by not getting involved, they are involved. They're just not on your side. It's a hard truth, but it's freeing once you see it clearly. Some people aren't confused. They're comfortable and they don't want your story messing with their comfort. So what do you do when your family won't or can't understand? What I think, first, you stop explaining. I know that sounds harsh, but I think it's not about shutting down. It's about choosing where you spend your energy. When someone is determined not to understand you, no matter what amount of explaining you think will help, it's just going to wear you down. So instead of seeking validation from the ones who just don't get it, start looking toward the people who do get it, whether that's a support group, a therapist, a friend who listens without judgment. And if you're like Annie in the novel Undercurrent, she turned to her horse for therapy. Now, the goal is the same, to stop placing your healing in someone else's hands. You can grieve the loss of what you wished your family could be. That grief is absolutely real and it deserves to be honored. But peace doesn't come from changing their minds. Peace comes from no longer needing them to get it in order for you to move forward. And if you've already stopped trying, I want to say this to you. That doesn't mean you gave up. It means you're standing up. You realize that some people will never understand a pain that they've never had to survive. So if you've ever tried to explain and you were met with silence, resistance, or blame, I want you to hear this. Your truth is true. Their silence doesn't erase what you went through. Your pain is real. Your healing is valid. And you don't need their permission to protect your peace. For those of you that are new to my podcast, I'm Kyle Hackley, attorney and author of Undercurrent, a story about Annie who breaks free from a narcissistic marriage. Annie isn't just one person. Annie is anyone who has ever experienced narcissistic abuse. And Are You Annie is here for you to validate you and to walk this healing journey with you. You are not alone here. I want you to remember that you are stronger than you think. And I want you to be tenacious and never give up on what's important to you. Thank you so much for staying on this journey with me. And I will see you next time. Thank you.